This is actually a plea from the state.
Yeah.
Yes, remember we have this challenge where we ask for Act 41 of 1971 to be found unconstitutional.
Okay.
So
what does it say? What are the provisions of that act for those who do not know?
Okay, the act is prohibiting the use, the selling, the cultivating, and the dealing of cannabis in Namibia.
Okay.
Yes. So the state actually wants to let the matter stand idle because they claim that there is a pending bill from the law reform in the developing community that is in process, commission, that they are looking into it, and as well as parliament. That is what they are actually saying, and they call it to say that the case is not ripe. The case is not ripe for adjudication.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is wrong with the current law prohibiting those four things that you mentioned: possession, dealing, and everything related to that?
Okay. Number one, it's a outdated law.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the first ground we land on.
Okay.
And since it's outdated,
Yeah.
anything in apartheid era was not good for us. We don't even have to look into it. But that's for the sake of argument. Number one, the use of cannabis, for instance. We are fighting for adult use. What we are saying is, as an adult, you have personal choices. Why? Because your body is your sovereignty. It's your personal autonomy. You decide what goes into your mouth, what to wear, and how to sleep. So no one else can determine or decide that for you.
When they say on that argument, Brian,
Yes.
you know, people talk about there are many things that we cannot consume in this country.
Yes.
Despite the bodies being autonomous to us. What makes Dakar an exception?
Can you make an example for those many?
Oh, well, yeah. So, look, drugs, generally.
Yes.
Because I know there are semantics there, people saying no, but cannabis is not this, is not that, but cocaine, for argument's sake, I can't consume it despite the body being mine. So the difference is where?
Okay. What I'm trying to say, if we look into the dictionary word of the word drug, drug is any substance that have a therapeutic effect. So drugs can be sugar, isn't it? Drugs can be coke. Drugs can be alcohol. Drugs can be a lot of things. You understand? So what does the government say? They want us to die the way they want. Or what? You know, because I want to choose how I want to die, you know. I have a right to self-harm, a little bit of self-harm. I have that right, you know. I don't see, you know, we have top 5 preventable deaths in the world, meaning deaths that we could have prevented. Alcohol, tops. Cigarette smoking, second. Diabetes, third. And let me break at diabetes. Diabetes, we don't see anyone going to jail for eating sweets. But people are dying like no one's business. You understand? Yes. Yes, and then we go to prescription drugs. Drugs that is being bought over the counter. They have side effects, they kill people. And cannabis don't even get to that list. Let me not say, I want to see the day when I have a death certificate that says cause of death, cannabis. You see?
No, I understand.
Yes.
I understand. I can't counter your argument properly because I must tell you I'm very naive when it comes to issues of that nature. I have never smoked in my life. And I've never taken intimate interest in this issue so that I can also understand them.
Yes.
But the impression that I've always had is that Dagga is not entirely. I mean, even in South Africa, where there is now some regulated use,
Yes.
I think the content of what can be sold is highly saturated. What is the word? It's washed down a little bit.
Yes, but now
Yeah.
there is a proposed bill that is coming up in South Africa that proposed that a person can have a 750 gram per day on him or her per person. But talking about South Africa, what I explained to you earlier about my body is exactly what South African government could not fight against, and that is the private use. Why? Because what harm does a person that use any drug, let's not say cannabis, any drug for that matter, for personal consumption, what harm does he use? What harm does he cause to the society or to other people in the confines of his house or her house?
Yeah, but Brian, the consumption, first and foremost, there's no guarantee that the consumption will be confined to people's homes. I mean, if you're a father, for example, I'm sure there are also things that you wouldn't want to do in front of your children.
Of course.
So maybe the safest way to do your stuff, some of those things, is actually not even at home. But are you saying, because I know that other drugs, like your hardcore drugs now, your cocaine and whatnot, they cause addiction, they cause serious health and mental disorientation, even if it's just in that moment. And I think the understanding of the authorities in our country is that Dagga does the same. What impact do you get from consuming Dagga as a person?
Me personally,
Yeah.
I've been smoking now for 35 years.
Yeah, illegally.
Illegally, and I will continue smoking.
Yeah.
And I never had any effects. Let's say, for instance, in prison, now when I was there for these 2 years, there is the institute, the correctional service, they give an institute called Managing Your Substance Abuse. It's a rehabilitation program. And there in that rehabilitation program, they have a part where they say that the victim's impact, meaning what your crime have caused on the victim. So in my case now, in the case of drugs, is that the addiction you are talking about, and people are stealing things at home. But even there, I raised the point to say that we cannot, without proof, say that people are stealing at home because of drugs. People steal because they are thieves. People kill because they are murderers. People rape because they are rapists. You want to tell me a person that steals in the bank, or works in the bank, that steals money and buy a Mercedes-Benz, was triggered by Mercedes-Benz? No.
Yeah.
You see, so we must name and shame these individuals that steal at home, and because we justify that, they keep on using these things because they know people will say it's not me, it's the drugs. But just to come to your point to say the health, let me choose my health status. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
Because you cannot allow me to drink Coke, but you don't want me to smoke a Zol. To smoke a Zol is more safer than to drive in a taxi here in Katatura. You know, so there is no holding for the state on my personal consumption.
So basically, in summary, is to say that Namibia is a country governed by a set of laws and set of acts. Now, the Road Traffic and Transport Act of 1999 is very clear. Where there is a freeway, it's called a freeway for a reason, or it's called a highway for a specific reason. It simply means that traffic on a highway should move freely. Hence the word free. Perhaps many people don't understand why there is the free in the way. So now, by installing this speed humps, you can no longer call it a freeway. Now, over the years, due to the significant amount of casualties that we have experienced on the B1, especially road users coming from this side of Katutura, crossing to the northern side where there are industries obviously going to work, we have seen accidents. I personally have called to say that there must be interventions to be done, and we never thought these interventions would lead to even more severe problems. So what must be done and what is clear in terms of the Traffic Act, you cannot put speed humps on a freeway. The law is very clear on that. The only time one is allowed to install speed humps is in residential areas, near schools, near populated areas such as shopping malls and things of that sort, where traffic naturally slows down. But on a freeway, what's currently happening, and I'm sure the media has been reporting about this, some of us experience it on a daily basis because I live in Brakwater. So I frequently use this piece of highway. So now with the speed humps installed, it's a nightmare getting into and out of town. If I now knock off 4 o'clock, by the time I reach the freeway, there's a queue stretching from here. It's like, I'm not sure if you've seen the crossing between Mexico and the US border.
In movies only.
It's the similar. And this is because of the speed humps. So in that letter, we're simply asking the minister to say, please kindly remove those speed humps you have placed in the road. If there is no money to construct a bridge right now, bring back the patrols that were there. Because when the patrols were there, traffic was not as it is right now, where you have to be in the queue for an hour or 2 hours just for you to get home. So if they don't have the money to build pedestrian bridges, to fence off the freeway in order to prevent people from crossing, and I think they've done a brilliant job in Okahanja. You see, with that new freeway, I always wondered what that wall was for. But now that you realize that there's no accidents being recorded that side, you can clearly see it's because there is that wall that prevents people from jumping onto a highway where you would ordinarily have vehicles moving at a speed of 120 kilometers and so forth. So we're asking the minister by tomorrow, 12 o'clock, to have those things removed. Failure for him to remove those things, unfortunately, will be forced to approach the High Court on an urgent basis in order for the High Court to give us an interdict to prevent the minister, number one, from installing future speed humps, and number two, to have the current ones removed. So that's all we're asking the minister to do. So instead of long, lengthy exchanges of papers in court and punitive costs, because they will have to pay the cost of this legal challenge, this thing can simply be avoided by removing that and putting the measures that were in place that were working perfectly.
The people who installed those things practically is actually Roads Authority. Why is everyone gunning for Veco Nakundi?
No, so the Traffic Act clearly states that the only time the Road Authority can act is when they've got explicit written permission from the minister. So remember, I cannot go after Road Authority because who's their custodian? It is the Minister of Works and Transport. So it is after the minister we must go, because as far as I'm concerned, anything related to road works, it is the duty of the minister. So we cannot go after the small fish. Unfortunately, some of us, we are not used to dealing with small fish, and that is why we're not going after small fish. We are going after the whale or the shark in order for the problem to be resolved.
No, I'm asking just in the context of, it's not even about the fact that you wrote the letter to the minister. I'm simply saying, where was Roads Authority when all this was happening? Because you have the true professionals there, the engineers, the people who are schooled in the area of roads and related infrastructure. And for some reason, the Roads Authority somehow allowed that to happen.
But Toivo, that's what happens when ministers interfere with professionals. You see, the minister is just an appointed someone.
Yeah.
And most of the time we usually appoint cattle headers or the people who clap the most or those who are able to betray others and things of that sort. So that is the people that you usually have. Now, we have a minister here who is on record for having procured 5 million worth of reflectors for animals. Now, you can clearly see we have a minister who is most probably trying to work hard. Because remember, in this administration, it seems to me there's too much competition between ministers. This one is trying to compete so that they can win the spotlight. But here, the minister has unfortunately blundered. Here, he has caused a mistake. Perhaps the road authority, the engineers wanted to suggest something better, but they got overruled because unfortunately, remember, most of these people get appointed through the directives of the minister. And the last thing you would want to do as a Toivo who just wants to bring bread to his kids, you will definitely say what your higher authorities do. So in this case, the higher authorities were wrong. Let engineers do what they do best, engineering. And I think this is where we must strike a fine balance between politics and professionalism. Right now, for me, this is pure politics. We have a minister who perhaps gave the wrong directives, or perhaps who just out of wanting to seem like he's doing something. Because sometimes, Toivo, you want to be seen doing something.
Yeah.
But you are doing absolutely nothing. And this is what the minister has done. In this case, he has done nothing. He's only causing more harm. In fact, there's been over 3 or 4 accidents already just as a result of those speed humps. And I got contacted yesterday by one of the complainants whose car was bumped on the freeway. Unfortunately, their insurance said that they're not going to compensate for that. And you know very well, insurance have got legal terms and technicalities on how not to pay for certain things of that sort. So we are not saying that we are against the measures to safeguard lives. All we're saying is that safeguarding lives must not come at the expense of other lives being put in danger.
Namibia is a circus. And the performing ministers that you are talking of is based on social media outbursts where ministers has hired someone who's taking pictures and videos when they are engaging onto their activities on a daily basis. Now, that is a circus. A performer, you will not watch on social media. A performer, you would see the results. We have seen the likes of Samkwaza touring the country, harassing everyone wherever they go. That is not performance. Performance is done or measured on, I've given you $1 million. Out of the $1 million, you were supposed to execute a project within 12 months. You executed that project within 2 months. And what we have invested in that $1 million, the services, the return on the 1 million has brought us. Yep. So on that basis, that's how you measure performance. Who has performed? Is it putting speed humps performance? Reflectors on animals? Is that performance? What are we talking of? Appointing of board of directors at parastatals, is that performance? That is what a minister should have done. How do you praise a fish for swimming? The duty of a fish is it was born to swim. Yeah. So a minister is appointed to be given a blank check, because normally they table a budget, and after that budget is approved, they must execute that budget. And if one execute it, can't be praised.
Yeah.
They're just doing their duty. By the way, we pay them. We give them Mercedes-Benz to drive in. I know once they are fired, they will not be able to drive in those cars. And if one cannot be able to elevate his own personal life to that level, what do you expect of a big ministry that is being given?
Yeah.
So we have appointed clowns, to be honest.
Yeah. But surely everything at times tends to trickle down all the way to the bottom. And based on what has been said in the corridors, it seems that there is this hidden agenda of people trying to sabotage those in charge, including the president. Because if you look at some of the appointments made, you find that people have found that questionable, but also based on how some ministries have been integrated together and how some of them have performed, some critics feel that there is an agenda or there is someone behind, or rather people that have come together to try to sabotage the president in this regard.
Then he's a very weak president. He's a very weak president who will be sabotaged by outside forces. What we did to the current president, we give her a blank check. And remember, when you follow a person like me, I've always been a critic of not wanting the granny to take over the country, because I did not see anything special about her in terms of performance and all these things. But I'm here today in your show as a testimony that I was right, that the president is a non-performer. Why am I saying so? You see, the Namibian people, when we tell them these things, they take it for granted. You see, I'm part of the collective, but unfortunately I did not favor the president to take over a country. But in a country like ours, a secular state like ours, when one is appointed and elected to take over a country, whether I agree or disagree, that person becomes my president. So by default, I'm an accomplice to the appointment or the elections of such a president, because it's a democratic state. But the lady starts to prove me right, that from day one she was not the right person to take over. Because everybody, when she was campaigning, everybody was saying she's a credible person. She would not enrich herself. She would not favor certain people and all these things. And it seems to me that when you migrated from Angola through the Ohangwena areas and resettled in Ohangwena, you will be the right person to do work in this country, especially in government. Now, when you appoint cronies from your village and who migrated with you from Angola, what do you expect in terms of results? I've read a book by Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power.
Yep.
One of the rules, the rules that are in that book is you must appoint your enemies. Because if you appoint your friends are reluctant, they will not perform. But your enemies will always want to perform. The Meme and every person who was before her appoints friends. And we do not see any results yielded by this country. The poverty that we have inherited from the South African regime, which I would now say proudly was a better administration than the current one. Because look at the ballooning poverty that we have, how people are living. Look at the DRC, Havana, Mboaria, Totina, those areas. Is that the life that our president and Ovambolen People's Organization, OPPO, wants our people to live in? Because we give them a blank check.
Yeah.
Have they improved their lifestyle?